Oof, we got our first death. Hey everyone, this is the custom content Uber BSD, also called the Elder Sibling. It is a really hard level 200 plus quest that takes place on the Levistras server. Really fun with some cool, unique rewards. So we're going to go through, I think this is going to be a pretty long video, so I appreciate everyone that sticks around to the end. But yeah, this is the first room, the Gatekeeper. It comes in several waves where you get Tuskers, Verindi, and these wisps. There are stamina and mana wisps that need to be taken out or targeted first in these fights, because otherwise they just constantly drain the stamina or the mana of all of your fellowship members, and they can only be targeted by specific people. So stamina wisps can be hit by melees and mages, and mana wisps I think can only be hit by archers, maybe melees, I'm not 100% sure. So there is some of that going on in this quest where they try to, make it so you need to have a full, very balanced fellowship, which I think is a really good design decision for a custom content quest, because a lot of times, especially in like higher level content, melees kind of struggle, or you don't need a mage because everybody can imperil and vuln. So some really cool design decisions. All right, we're on the final wave. We've got the Gatekeeper spawned here. There's some mana wisps you can see, so I can't do anything about those. We've got a bunch of Tuskers. They all have overpower mechanics, which is kind of cool. Now, the role that I am playing in this fellowship is mostly as a life mage, just imperiling and vulning everything so that the DPS in our group can take things out. We have a dedicated healer who is using I think, Viridian Rise Life Wand, which has a really quick cast heal spell built into the wand, which is super helpful and definitely recommended if you're going to be running this quest. So yeah, the Verindi in here, even though we do have Rinthid Tentacle weapons, they are more weak to slash, so we use slashing damage. The Drudges that you'll see in the corner, those are casting Void DOTs on us. They are weak to lightning, so we use that on them. And there you go, the Gatekeeper taken out. When the Gatekeeper goes down, a Gatekeeper's cache spawns. You'll just want to use that, and then you will get your first 2 rewards. Then we move on to the hallway fight. Now the hallway is just kind of a grindy battle through the first passages of BSD. Now I should say that this takes place in the Obsidian Plains Black Spawn Den, which is a normal dungeon on every server, but here it's been modified to be level 200 plus, and obviously these some high level monsters, so you don't want to wander in here, although it is blocked off by a door when you first enter, so you won't accidentally wander into these Tuskers. But this is a very grindy battle through these hallways. There are Tuskers everywhere. There are flame traps. So you'll see we're positioning ourselves behind the pillars so that we don't get hit, or so we get hit by as few flame walls as possible, because they do really hurt. And if you're standing in like an intersection, you can get hit from both directions, these giant flame walls, and you will die. We learned that the hard way. This is after a couple of weeks. I'm actually going to link in the description. Yumi did a video on the old version of this quest, and it has since been updated. It is so much harder now, but in a great way. It's really fun, takes a lot of coordination. You need, I don't want to say you need a 9-man fellowship to do this quest, but you definitely need like 7 to 8 extremely high level or extremely well geared players. So you'll see I just got hit for about 200 from one of those flame walls, so definitely not something to ignore. And there, I just got hit by a mana wisp. It drains all of your mana no matter how much you have. I have 745 mana while I'm doing this quest. There's a stamina wisp, so we're going to try to concentrate on those as often as we possibly can. When the Verindi goes down, the monsters in this area, I think, I don't think they despawn, but the flame walls will stop. Here, we lost somebody there. And there, so we took out the first Verendi, and then there was a flame wall preventing us from moving forward. That drops down so these Tuskers can get through and we can fight them. There is either a second or a third. I'm not sure exactly how many Verendi there are in this area, but once you kill all of them, the flame wall traps do stop and this becomes a safe area. So we do target priority try to go for Wisps first, and then Verendi, which we learned the hard way because the Verendi actually are the most dangerous monsters in this dungeon. They do a ton of melee damage. They have overpower, so they ignore your defenses. Just really, really tough monsters. And there you go. You can see when we kill that Verendi, the flame walls stop. The Tuskers don't despawn, but the flame walls do stop, and then we can progress to the northeast to the next boss fight. So we'll come to a door once everyone's ready. We'll use the door and we'll head in and we'll enter the Quartermaster fight. Now, in this fight, there are going to be some Inferno Wisps that spawn. The Inferno Wisps are what trigger flame walls in this room. So we're trying to do everything we can to get the Inferno Wisps down first, so we only hit one wave of the flame walls. Now, the Quartermaster himself can only be hit by melees in this fight, so you need probably, I want to say 3 to 4 melees who do a pretty good amount of damage, so like two-handers or heavy weapons. Every melee is useful, obviously, but those two-handers hit super hard, and it's really nice to have them. So here is our first Drudge Fanatic. These guys really suck, and you'll see in the chat, it goes, "Aye!" And when that happens is when they get to about half health, and then they explode, and we have a death from it, but they launch like a life 2-gack ring when they die, and it deals, I think I got hit by one once, and my cloak reduced the damage by 200, and it was like 10,000 damage. So you've got to really, really watch out for those, and it took us a while to figure out how to just kind of reposition ourselves, run away from them when they're about to explode. And so the way that I would recommend doing this fight is whenever there are extra monsters spawned by the boss, everybody drops off the boss and clears those monsters, and then once that's done, then go back to fighting the boss. So we've got another Drudge Fanatic in our face. We just want to be super careful when we're killing this guy so that we can kill it and get away. A really good way to fight them is to just drop summons on them, get them to aggro the summons, and then kind of back away. Always want to watch your chat and just, wait for that message that they're going to explode. So there's the message. I'm standing right next to it, and it's just like, run, run, run. Thankfully, nobody died off that one. So I do think we wiped on this fight later because the last wave is super hard. So what happens is you deal enough damage to the Quartermaster, it teleports to a different alcove, and you've got to fight it all the way down again. And I believe there are 4 different rounds to that fight, culminating in him being right in the center of the room. So if you're the melee, you can't really avoid the flame walls, and it just becomes very difficult. Slowly backing away from the Drudge Fanatic. Don't want to be anywhere near that guy. And you'll see oh man, I got hit by another Mana Wisp. It become basically useless for a second. But you'll see when the Quartermaster moves, new waves of monsters spawn. So when we're doing this fight, we are typically in like a Discord voice chat so that we can coordinate and call out, you know, hey, there's a wisp spawned, you know, kind of figure out who's doing what in these situations. We still have a dedicated healer, like I said. So definitely a lot of coordination goes into this quest, which I think is great. It's so much fun to just have to work together to figure out what's happening. So we've got our next spawn. So you can see the Inferno Wisps are up, so the Flame Walls are coming. So we try to get them down as quick as possible. We also like to target the Drudge Fanatics last, because if there's a lot of other monsters, when the Drudge Fanatics blow up, you don't have as much room to maneuver, and you want as much room to maneuver as possible when that thing explodes. Okay, so the Quartermaster moved to his last position in the center of the room. So you'll see this is a really tough spot if there are flame walls going off. One thing that they've done really well in balancing this fight is that mages do extra damage. So you'll see, even though I'm Void, I'm hitting this Tusker for like 5,000 damage, which is probably more damage than I've ever done as a Void mage. So every class is useful in these fights, which I think is great. So you'll see there's the flame walls, and the melees, there's not much they can do to avoid them. One thing we did learn after, and there goes someone again, one thing we did learn is that you can stack on top of each other so that only one of the melees takes the flame walls and not everybody. So we did end up portal recalling and starting over, going for take 2 against the Quartermaster. One thing that's nice about the way they've redone this quest is now at the beginning you saw there was like a portal wall instead of a door. So you just, if you die, you can't come back when there's a boss fight happening, but between boss fights you can just double click the door and you get portaled, right to the next fight. Or at least right before it, and you only have to run a short distance through the dungeon to get back. So I won't bore you with redoing this entire, showing you the entire fight again, but this is the last wave, and we do end up beating it here, which is really nice, and I'm just getting rid of flame vulns on the melee so they don't die. So yeah, once the Quartermaster goes down, a Quartermaster's cache will spawn. You'll just use that and get your next 2 rewards. And then you run through to this last little section, and there's all these weapons on the wall, and you can just pick one that you want. So I already have the Void Orb in both different styles, Defender and Blood Drinker, so I just got a Dagger, which I can't use. So these weapons do become Tusker Slayer, which is really nice. So this is the Alchemist fight that we are going into now. Now you'll see all around the room there's these little flame sentries. So if you get too close to them, they will come after you. They prevent you from kind of stacking up on a wall or making any kind of shield wall. And I have to say, these Elite Verindy Master, I know I've already said it in this video, but they hurt. You can see when I run in, it just immediately walloped me, and then I just got hit again for 100 points of damage from one melee attack, so they are not joking around. So we have learned to target the Verindys first. So you'll see that the flame sentries kind of coming off the wall when someone gets too close, and they don't look like much, but they will kill you. Now you see the 2 altars to my left right now. Those are what are going to spawn the bosses. So we try to clear the waves first before going after either of the altars. And the way that we like to do it is the left one summons a hollow minion, so we typically do that one first. And the right one summons like a giant griever. I'm not remembering its name offhand right now. And then once we kill both of those bosses, then the Alchemist will spawn. We've gotten so much better at this fight. Our coordination has been really good. And you can see I'm teeing up my pet so that if my summon moves to the other one, I can just use my pet and it despawns my summon. Now, I don't think everybody knew about this, but that's okay. We ended up figuring it out. And so you'll see the first altar is down. The hollow minion has spawned. Ancient Abomination. There you go. Giant 100,000 health hollow minion. So we use cold on this boss. I actually think we ended up killing the altar through because the two-hand cleave went through the hollow minion to the altar. Void does not do a lot of damage on this boss, so you can see I'm like barely attacking because I'm only doing 100 damage. So there's the Griever, giant ancient horror. So this one we use slash damage on. Now, when the hollow minion dies, a bunch of mini hollow minions start to spawn until you finish this fight. So what we typically do is we have one archer whose sole purpose is just to find the hollow minions that spawn and take them down. Now we're going to stack on top of each other in the center of the room because after this Ancient Horror goes down, a ton of mini versions of the Ancient Horror continue to spawn. And we found that the best way to combat those is to stack on top of each other, and then we can use ring spells to kind of thin them out. And there he goes. There's all the mini ones, and the Alchemist is there. It's a really good view of all the, I think they're called Nightmares. There you go, Nightmares. All right, so once we get that thinned out a little bit, then we'll go and debuff the Alchemist so that we can start taking him down. And you'll see the Nightmares continue to spawn, so we've got people who are going to ring pretty much the whole time, except when the Nightmares go away. So what the Nightmares do is they basically drain your health, stamina, and mana, and it gets really annoying because you'll be like down to no resources at all. You see the Hollow Creation hitting me and it deals a ton of damage. Just trying to keep the Void DOTs up on the Alchemist the whole time. He's pretty much debuffed as much as we're going to go for. You can use summons at this point. They do help. There we go, we got the Alchemist down, so close. All right, there he goes. When the Alchemist goes down, the Nightmares stop spawning, and a new cache will appear. You'll use that, you'll get an Alchemist Jewel and an Alchemist Essence. So you should have 6 rewards now along with the weapon. And now you can go either east or west to fight a guard, the cache guard. So we did the east wing in this one. They are related to, one is gives you a Blood Drinker cantrip and one gives you a Defender cantrip on your weapon. You can see I got hit super hard right away by that guy. So yeah, these hollows are no joke. And Flame Sentries spawn in the hallway behind you, so there's no way to like form a shield wall. I guess you could do the corner, but this fight is not that bad where you need to do that. Stamina wisp, so we go after the wisps. There's our first fanatic. And for whatever reason, Void Magic does basically no damage to both the Hollow minions and to the blue drudges, Seraphs, because the Seraphs are also Void Mage users. So yeah, you'll see I hit for 120 on a mob that has, you know, like 200,000 health. So we killed the cash guard. When the cash guard goes down, the door opens. There's nothing to loot, and there's no cash that spawns for rewards here. So we're just going to clear all of the monsters in the room before moving on. So one other thing we're coordinating in chat is just saying when the Drudge Fanatics are going to explode. So that's the first good view you've gotten. You can see the 2-gak coming out. 1 death from it, not too bad. So once you've cleared the room, you'll go through. And there will be a East Wing Trove, which you'll use. That will give you I think a blue gem on this side, which is the Defender. Yeah. Now we'll go into the Obliterator fight. So this fight, you really want to have a Void Mage with you. This guy's regen is so high. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to completely debuff him so that all of our archers and melees hit as close to 100% of the time as we can get, because if you miss, it's not helping. So what he's going to do is he's going to throw fire on the ground beneath him. So if you are in that fire, you're going to just constantly take fire damage. And he's also going to portal you over the middle every once in a while if he's fighting you. So I think I'm about to get portaled. Jump to the middle, and then you just kind of have to run back to the group as fast as you can. Otherwise, he'll just run around back and forth and you won't be able to hit him. So you want to kind of stay on top of each other. So you can see the Void DOTs are like super important here because they just increase everyone's damage. Yeah, and Void usually doesn't do a ton of damage, but I'm hitting for almost 10,000 on non-critical hits. Trying to use blasts, but I have to stand in the fire to use the blasts, so. But yeah, this fight usually we struggle with, because if one person goes down, your damage goes down considerably, and then you can see I'm taking 20 damage per second essentially from the fire, so you got to move back. Hopefully don't get hit in that time or you'd be dead. So there's 1 death, and we just got to make sure we don't get any more deaths or we might not finish this fight. I love the maidens. They just like take so long to die, the summons. It kind of looks like the boss is dying, but it's just a summon. And there we go. Not too bad. We did it on the first try that time, which is pretty good for us. And you'll see a black spawn Obliterator heart, which you're going to use. So normally you would just get that heart and use it on your weapon. It makes it a Tusker Slayer weapon, and then you could add the gem to it. But because I don't need this dagger, I'm not going to use it. So now we're in the Hallway of Death. Basically a really grindy fight through this hallway. Fighting a whole bunch of mobs, different Verindi spawn, and there's essentially 3 sections of this fight until you get to the end, but it's the same kind of stuff that we fought before, so we're going to jump ahead to the next part. Alright, so once you get to the end of the hallway, all these flame sentries are going to spawn, and you'll get pushed forward, otherwise you're just going to die to the flame sentries. The next section is these heavy armored Tuskers, which are huge, and they look awesome. I think they're kind of like the Tusker that you fight in the King Bobo quest. There's going to be some Verindi. And one thing to note is that if you do die in this part or in the hallway, you can get right back to the group. You don't have to wait for the fight to be over. So that's a really nice thing here. You do get portaled back where all the flame sentries are, so you're going to have to run through all of them until this room gets cleared. So what we did here is we have 2 melees just kind of blocking the path so that the heavy Tuskers and the Verindi can't get through to fight all the mages and the archers. So a little bit of a cheesy strategy, but we'll take it where we can get it. Oh, there we go, all Skvoth. So in this section, we do target the Tuskers first, and then we go to the Verindi. Because those heavy Tuskers hit really hard. I think Voth said he got hit for like 400 in one hit from that Tusker. And with the whole group targeting the Verindi, they go down pretty quickly. Once you clear the room, you're going to take your field theodolite, which you get from the NPC in Waiju that you use to flag for this quest. You're going to use it on the mana field finder, or whatever this thing is called. And you're also going to grab a note from the ground. So I should say that in order to flag for this quest, you have to find a platinum letter on a tier 8 mob, turn it into the NPC in Eastham, which is a custom NPC. And then you can also go to Waiju, and there's an NPC there who will give you the field theodolite that you need to get that reward. So now what we're doing is there's 2 sets of levers, one on each side, which open these last 2 doors. So one person in the fellowship has to do those levers, and then you want people on each side of these doors, because one needs to open it for the other. So we'll go in. This is the final boss, the Overseer. He's got 4 wards. So we like to start on Ward of Armor. When you kill one of the wards, it drops an orb that can be used by someone in the group. It's got an inherent spell on it. So the Ward of Armor is really good. I think I show it later in the video, but it's basically got a 10-second Imperil spell that reduces an enemy's armor by 500, which is more than double what Incantation of Imperil does. So the second one that we go to is Ward of Blade Protection, and then there's Fester and Invuln. So each one of these drops an orb that can be used to debuff the Overseer. So I'm going to grab the Blade Vulnerability one. Now, one thing to note, which is really nice, is all of these debuffs can be used on anybody. So you'll see, like, I cast it on the Ward of Regeneration, I cast it on the boss, and I cast it on the Ward of Invuln. And you could use that on anything. So if there's Verindi that spawn that you have to fight, you can use the wand that spawns on them as well. Once all of the wards go down, we can go ahead and start fighting the Overseer. And now the Overseer, similar to the Quartermaster, can only be hit by melees. So throughout this fight, we're going to have some Tuskers coming in, and then when the Overseer gets to certain health thresholds, I think 75%, 50%, and 25%, we're going to get a whole bunch of additional mobs spawning. So the role of the mages and the archers at this point is to kind of keep the melees clear as best they can. And then when those large spawns happen, the melees are going to break off and join the overall fight. We did actually fail this the first time, so this, I think I'm only showing the second attempt here. Now, Inferno Wisps do spawn, but they don't cause flame walls to happen. They are still target priority number 1 because they do a ton of damage. All right, so there's our first wave of a large wave that spawns on a, health, whatever health threshold you want to call it. So we've got Fanatics, we've got Drudge Seraphs, we had some more Tuskers. So this is where you got to be really careful around the Fanatics, because you do not want to lose your melees at this point. If you lose your melees, you kind of have to portal recall and start over. So there you go, there's one drudge blowing up, so we just want to make sure that only summons are in the area when that thing blows up, which looks like we did it pretty good on that one. There's our other fanatic. Below 50% health, everybody jumps away, and it goes boom. All right, and then we just make sure that all the debuffs are still on the boss. I believe it lasts for 5 minutes, the Blade Vuln, but I just try to make sure and double check that it doesn't come off because the damage really goes down. And you'll see we're not really using summonings here because that grate in the center, summons just fall through it. So they can't really be used to fight the boss. You could use summons on the side to fight like the wisps and the tuskers. But if they get distracted and try to fight something else, then they'll fall through. So you see the wards have respawned. So at, I think it's every 5 minutes, the wards will respawn. Sometimes you can kill the Overseer fast enough where you don't need to redo the wards, but in this case, we're too far behind and we need to go back around and re-kill the wards. Now, before you go back and do the wards, it does make sense to clear all the additional monsters that have spawned, so all these tuskers, all the wisps if there are any. And then I'm going to go around and still use the orb because the orb doesn't despawn right away. I think it lasts a little bit longer than, you know, when the wards respawn. And there it goes. And we wrecked that ward. It went down super quick, so I'm going to pick back up the Orb of Blade Vuln. Now, one thing with the orbs is that only one person can pick up one at a time. They're on like a 5-minute shared timer. So you do need 4 different people to use these. It can be tough if you don't have 4 mages, but I would, you know, if you don't have 4 mages, I would just switch them to archers, or, you know, even in a pinch, you could have a melee take the there was the imp orb. So yeah, 500, it reduces the armor really good. But like I was saying, if you really are desperate, you could have a melee pick up the Blade Vuln because that debuff lasts for 5 minutes. So, all right, so we are at the point where the Verendi spawn. Now these Verendi hurt, like I've said many times in this video. We just lost Stan. Stan had the imp orb, so that's a huge loss at this point in the fight. But I think we're able to kind of overcome that. There goes Advis. Like I said, these Verendi, you get 2 of them on you, you are in trouble. You just gotta like constantly heal and hope that the aggro switches to somebody else. There's DBBQ goes down. I mean, that's 3 people on this wave that we lost already. So, I mean, this fight is no joke. We have wiped on this wave many times. All right, and so we got the monsters mostly down. There's the last Verendi. And we can get our melees back onto the Overseer and take out the last 33% of the health. I know for like 2 seconds I considered switching to melee. There we go. I've got Finesse trained, but I can't hit him. Had to try it, right? But yeah, our last 2 melees overcame the Overseer. I'm just healing, and we're all healing and getting rid of Vulns just so our melees don't go down. And there you go. The Overseer dies. A trove appears. Anybody who died is able to come back at this point, and you can see they spawn right there. So you're going to get 2 crystals, and then you're also going to get a pyreal shard of some type. You can get a tiny, a small, or a fiery. They kind of function like crystal shards do. And then that's it. We're going to head to Eastham. We're going to jump up and turn in our rewards. You get a bunch of luminance, experience, volatile pyreal shards, which are custom currency that you can use to buy corrupted rare weapons. You can turn in the weapon that you got, the Virindi weapon, and any of the pieces for MMDs. And then you can go to Waiju and you get a cloak and a talisman or a trinket that have flameproof set, which is super cool. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who came along on this quest with us. It's super fun. Thanks to the creators for making this quest. Like it's honestly like a really nice quest. So yeah, you also get a Hearthseeker vault key where you can loot some extra volatile pyreal shards and some additional other things. Here's me turning in for the MMDs. And then we'll go to Waiju. There's the NPC, so you're going to turn in the note. And you'll just use them. I got a Talisman of Strength, so legendary strength, which you normally can't get on a trinket. And I got a Cloak, which has damage 2, damage resist 1, and flameproof set. So if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your support. If you haven't already and you've made it this far in the video, I don't know why you haven't, but please subscribe to the channel. And yeah, thanks for watching. Bye, everybody.